Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Troy City Council Finance Committee meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Keel. Councilmember Brosnan.
Here.
Councilmember McLaren. Councilmember Vera.
Present.
Councilmember Soriento.
Here.
Councilmember Casey.
Present.
And Council President Steele present. We have at the moment 6 present, 1 absent. This evening, we have 4 items on our Finance Committee agenda. And at this time, it is, according to our rules, anyone who wishes to address the council on any item on the agenda may do so. And would you please come forward and give us your name and residence, please? Seeing no one interested at this point, we'll move right along to our ordinances. Ordinance 46, ordinance authorizing the reconveyance of real property acquired by in rem foreclosure, 128 Bedford Street. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan with a second by Councilmember Soriento. Discussion on the resolution. Do we have someone who can explain this or provide any further detail on this? Do you have any questions? Yeah, good.
I apologize. I thought we started at 7.
The Finance Committee is at 6:30, but
Okay.
thank you for being available. Do any council members have any questions, or did you want to give us a quick overview?
This is a property that we took title to after they defaulted on their property taxes. They've since come in and paid during the reconveyance period. Is that better?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I apologize. This was a property that was foreclosed for back taxes. The city took title to the property, and then after we took title, the property owner came in and redeemed the property by paying in full the taxes and all the expenses involved. This is just reconveying it back to the original owner.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from any council members?
Council President.
Councilman Vera?
This is just, I noticed that this property and an adjacent parcel were both on the foreclosure list. This is just the parcel that has the residence on it. Is that correct?
I would have to look at the supporting
It
documentation.
only lists one tax ID, so is it just,
If it only lists one tax ID, either they were combined at one point or it's only the one.
okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome. I apologize. Yeah.
No problem. Seeing no other comments or questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 46 adopted 7-0. And let the record show that Councilmember Keel has joined us. Thank you. Resolutions. Resolution 135, resolution confirming an appointment to the Troy Industrial Development Authority. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey, at the request of the administration, Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento, second.
Second.
Councilmember Brosnan. Discussion on the resolution? For members of the public, I just wanted to note that the member being appointed is Michael Kuzak. This is a member of to represent the Lansingburg School Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 135 is adopted 7-0. 136, resolution honoring Bernice Bornt Ledenbauer for her service and contributions to the arts in the city of Troy. Councilmember Vera. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McLaren. Discussion on the resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 7-0. Resolution 137, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of cybersecurity endpoint protection and response services. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan with a second by Councilmember Keel. Do you want to, is Ahmed here? Okay.
Hi, good evening all. So New York State has started a cybersecurity program. They have partnered with CrowdStrike. They entered the agreement last year, beginning of 2023.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, could you try to talk
Can you-
directly into it?
That's
I realize,
Is it better now?
yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
No-
Thank
No
you.
problem, sorry. Okay, so New York State entered a cybersecurity agreement with a cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike in the beginning of 2023 to secure New York City and all the New York State counties with the latest EDR, which stands for endpoint detection and response. That program was so successful that now they're expanding it to two biggest municipalities in each county, and Troy falls under that program now. So we started the conversation when I started my position here at the city. Been in contact with the state cybersecurity department. They finally sent the agreement over, which I believe you guys have seen. And us entering into that agreement, New York State will cover the whole cost for 3 years. The total cost for 3 years is going to be $114,523.50 for 3 years, covered 100% by New York State. It won't cost anything to us. And yearly, it's about $38,174.50 to renew that, which is again covered for the next 3 years, plus from the date we entered the agreement with New York State. Currently, our existing EDR solution that we pay from our budget is $17,250.75, which might be going up more next year as everything else has been, especially in the IT industry. So we are not only going to get a better antivirus and EDR solution, we will be saving about $18,000 a year for the next 3 years, which is about $40,000 and change. This program also, New York State might renew it after 3 years. They don't have any commitment yet, but they are, due to the program being so successful, it's more likely they will renew it for the next few years after the 3-year term is completed.
Any questions, council members?
Council President?
Councilmember Vera?
How easy is it to pivot from one software package to another for these services?
Very time consuming. So I requested for 650 licenses for our organization here. That will cover all the workstations and the servers. The process would be to run an application called AV removal, which will uninstall our existing EDR solutions from computer. And then we will push the new software to those computers that we have uninstalled from. So the process is, it's time consuming. It probably will take at least a month for us to completely shift from our existing solution to the new one. The new solution also includes 24/7 response and monitoring solution. To put it in a non-technical term, it's basically an alarm company who's monitoring your home and you're not when you're away, basically. So if there's any issue with the network, if some bad link is clicked or if a cyber hacker is trying to get into our environment, we will get a phone call or a text message, most likely a phone call, and they will let us know, hey, your network is under attack. We have cut all the access to it. Please respond. So those are the extra pieces that we don't have with our existing solution. And that's why CrowdStrike is a little bit more expensive. And they're like the leading cybersecurity solution right now. We also partner with Akamai. It's a company that hosts DNS. It's basically a name as a resolution server. What they do, they have partnered with CISA, which is a federal cybersecurity agency, and also CIS, which is Center for Internet Security, which is a not-for-profit locally based here in upstate New York. So these three agencies have partnered, and they sponsor a product through Akamai. So for instance, if a hacker tries to send a bad link to one of our users and they click on it, it will get blocked. Ideally, we get a report every week of over 100 malicious sites that were trying to access our network, or IP addresses that were trying to come to our network and they were being blocked by Akamai. So those are, that's another program that we have been working with, CISA and CIS and Akamai. So that's also being sponsored by CISA. So we are not paying anything out of our pocket.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilmember McLaren.
So I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second. So if at the end of 3 years, the state does not renew its sponsorship of this, what do we do? Because it's
No, absolutely. It's
quite a
great-
bit more than what we're
Yeah.
doing now.
Definitely, great question. So the idea is, like, I was also thinking of the same thing. If it's not renewed, they will probably give us enough time to look into a different solution. So we were thinking to just go back to our existing solution. We just put it on a pause basis for 3 years.
Will that be hard to do? To
Same
like
time,
from
yeah.
the really fantastic system to what we have now? Like,
Yeah,
that-
absolutely. I mean, I would love to stay with it, but because of the costs, it might prohibit us to just switch back.
Okay.
But maybe in 3 years, there will be some better solution out there that will be not as expensive. So.
but you'll know ahead of time so that
Absolutely.
you'll have time to go back. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I believe it was written somewhere in the contract, or when I was talking to the agent from New York State Cybersecurity Department, they mentioned they will give us at least a good chunk of time heads up to make our decision. Yeah. But they promised, like, they sound very optimistic that this program will continue beyond 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just curious, our packet included a memorandum in support of this resolution. It's not clear who prepared the memorandum. Did you do that, or was that from the Corporation Counsel's office?
So the contract came from New York State, and I work with Rich Morrissey from the Corporation Counsel to.
This is the memorandum in support of the resolution. I think we asked last time if we could please identify where these memorandums. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That helps. It helps us to understand where this information is coming from. So appreciate that in the future. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 7-0. At this time, I would, since we have little time, entertain anyone who wishes to address the council on any item, not necessarily on the agenda. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Councilmember McLaren with a second by Councilmember Soriento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. We'll be back at 7. See,
Are
what
you,
are-
are you using that as our clock?
No, I'm using my computer as
Oh,
well.
okay. I saw you look up at it.
I did look
Sure.
up at it. I wanted to see how close it
Computer,
was
that's-
to the computer,
You mean the iPad?
whatever it is. I don't know. Hey, I'm old. What do you want? It's an iPad. Okay, it's an iPad.
Kidding.
It is a
Thanks,
computer.
Ryan, for
An
fixing that.
iPad is a computer.
I'm only kidding. Good job. That was not accurate.
Okay, now you've adjusted the time we can start.
When you're waiting for that 1 minute, it takes forever. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Troy City Council. It's our regular meeting, September 5th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Keel,
Present.
Councilmember Brazen,
Here.
Councilmember Spain McLaren,
Present.
Councilmember Vera,
Present.
Councilmember Soriento, Councilmember Casey.
Here.
Here.
Council President Steele,
Present.
all are present.
Thank you. At this time, this is the public forum of our meeting, and we're very pleased this evening to have with us our state representatives. I'd ask you gentlemen to speak to us and tell us what we want to hear. No pressure, no pressure. Feel free to have a seat, be comfortable.
There's a trap door.
Hopefully your knees fit on there.
Well, good evening. Thanks for taking the time and letting us come here. I'm New York State Senator Jake Ashby. And while I'm here tonight in hopes of providing some clarity and to clear up some potential misunderstandings, I want to open by saying that we're all here because this mayor and the Republicans and Democrats on this council have made attacking lead pipe replacement an urgent priority. I'm grateful for Mayor Montello's energy and vision and for the support of the city council has provided her. I'm also grateful for my colleague Assemblyman John McDonald, one of the true champions for the state's bipartisan commitment to allocating funding for lead pipe replacement, as well as the federal government's bipartisan infrastructure law, a generational investment that's paying life-changing dividends for the city of Troy. I think we're here tonight because we're all eager to translate these financial commitments into even more tangible progress. To that end, I have good news. After meeting with New York State Director of Budget and top officials from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, I can confirm that the city has existing statutory authority to begin this work immediately. The EFC has pledged to me that they will expeditiously reimburse the city for replacement costs as they are incurred using the aforementioned federal and state dollars. Your RFP can and should reflect this. The proposal for the state to declare a state of emergency cannot be accommodated outside of the legislative session. And quite simply, leadership is exceedingly unlikely to call back the entire legislature to codify authority the city already has. Simply put, the resources are there. The funding stream is there. The reimbursement process is in place. And I believe contractors should be secured to begin this critically important work without delay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, we share everything. So good evening, John McDonald, member of the State Assembly as well. And I too want to commend the mayor, the administration, and the council for taking a bipartisan approach on a very, very serious issue. And it's been very comforting to see your actions being taken. As you know, this is an issue that not only impacts Troy, but many other communities throughout the state. And that's why in 2023, in the state budget that we passed, we made changes to the local finance law to give what's called a PPU, a probable usefulness period. So that way, municipalities could feel comfortable going out and replacing private lead service lines. Because it is a question, right? Lord knows we've been around politics and government for a long period of time. There's a lot of stories from generations ago of misuse of public funds, but we want to make it crystal clear. And both the senator and I have had various conversations with administration officials. I've had conversations with counsel at the state controller's office, who said it's very clear the legislature intended to give local governments the ability to use public funds to replace private lead services, particularly because of what we know today, which we didn't know 50, 60 years ago. We're here because at the last finance meeting, members of the council had expressed anguish and concern, and justifiably so, not being critical by any stretch of the imaginations. Words such as stuck and our hands are tied resonated with both the senator and myself, and that's why we're here to try to help provide clarity where possible. I boil it down to two different things. One is in regards to, is it legal to use public funds to replace private lead water lines? And the answer is, when it comes to federal and state funding, it's crystal clear. Yes, you can. The constitutional question comes up in regards to municipal funds. The good news is because of actions both with the prior and with the current administration and the prior and the current council, you applied for funds through the Department of Health and were recently awarded the 12.8 or $13 million, of which I'm very pleased to see Resolution 133 on the agenda this evening, which is basically saying, hey, we want the funding, we're going to pass it. And I'm glad to see that happen. And I know it will have unanimous support of this body. But you, because it's state and federal funding, you can feel very comfortable that the legislature has said it is clear you can use that. Where it gets tricky is when it's municipal funding. And right now, that's not the issue before the council. You are receiving a federal grant administered by the state of New York with those public funds, not local funds. And that is what you are going to be voting on with Resolution 133. And I hope that provides some clarity for individuals. Jake and I both talk about it. We are organizing meetings with many other state administrative leaders to get greater clarity in regards to municipal funds being used. The truth of the matter is this is a reimbursement grant that you're applying for. We reached out, Jake met with Maureen Coleman, I reached out to Maureen Coleman, and she said very clearly, EFC will disperse funds and invoices submitted, evidencing cost incurred. The word there that's key is incurred, not paid. If invoices are timely submitted, Troy could pay vendors with dispersed funds. So this is a reimbursement program. The contractor submits the months of August claims. Russ and team and the finance folks review it, submit it to EFC, and EFC commissioner has guaranteed us that provided they meet muster, you'll be reimbursed. And hopefully that'll be no city tax dollars expended to pay those bills. So I think that's important to know. And it's really more, in all fairness to everybody, because we had a great meeting with the mayor. She accommodated the senator, myself, and her team. We walked through this administratively because it's really more of an administrative issue. But the good news is that, you know, you do have a resolution 132 that allows you to bond. You may or may not need to do that, but that's really your decision at the end of the day. If you bond, you know, you start incurring interest, and you need to be mindful of that because whatever interest you pay might have an impact on how many services you get. And like anything else, you've got a good team here that will do the timing to make sure that happens. So I wanted to we both wanted to share that information because I think it's important in many aspects. I think the other items, there's a couple other resolutions you're voting on tonight in regards to getting an opinion from the state controller and state attorney general. That's something that your corp counsel can do at any given time. You can do a resolution to support that. You don't need to do a resolution. There is a resolution this evening is also that is asking for a home rule ability for you to do the bonding. Technically, for home rule legislation, we actually have to introduce a bill first to do that. And we have not had that opportunity because we just had the discussion 2 days ago. Whether we can or not is a whole different ballgame, but the reality is in this council, those who've been around know when we do home rule legislation, you will vote on it using the Senate and the Assembly bill, but there's been no bill drafted because we haven't been requested to do so yet. So that's just a technical detail that you should just keep in the back of your mind in regards to as you move forward. I think that's it from my perspective. If there's any questions, I think Jake and I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any members? No.
Council President,
Councilmember McLaren?
not necessarily a question so much as a thank you for clarifying this, and, you know, helping us understand that we'll be able to move forward from here.
Yeah, I would like to echo that. You've gone above and beyond, not only advocating for this situation, but making it clearer for us. I have to confess, it's not easy being green. No, I didn't mean that. It's not easy to navigate some of this language, and you have boiled it down and made it very understandable for us, and we're very grateful. And now we need to figure out what we're going to do. But we're in a good position, I think, thanks to the efforts of many.
Council President.
Councilmember Soriento.
I'm just a little confused with, so I don't think the issue is about if we had the funds to pay for the private side. I think the main question is if we're allowed to bond for it. And I believe that we're trying to get an opinion on whether or not we can bond.
I mean, the reality is you don't actually need to bond for it right now because you have a reimbursement grant. And therefore, municipal funds will not be utilized in that aspect. Invoice comes in, you send it to EFC, you get the money back, you pay the vendor. And as the senator indicated in his comments, this is for, the next round of work to be done in 2025, you could include those terms of payment in the bid. So, in a year or two, there may be an issue at that time. We are working to make sure that that's crystal clear. As I explained to the mayor the other day, there's a question about what's for the public good, the benefit of the public good. If we started saying, we'll do Bill's line, but we're not going to do Irene's, that's not for the benefit of the public good when it comes to a health issue. And that's where it needs to be challenged in court. The state controller said, we know what you indicated. You're absolutely right. We're supportive. We expect somebody at some day to challenge it in court, but nobody has really gone out and gone that far to challenge it. There have been communities that have moved forward with the borrowing aspect, but no one has challenged it yet. Only when it's challenged will it be clarified in law. We have had conversations and we'll continue to have conversations as should we touch the state constitution to make a change? Jake's been in the legislature for what, 10 years now?
No, close.
8,
6.
6? I've been there
Feels
12.
like 10, right, Jake?
As everybody would know, when you're looking at state constitutional changes, they should not be taken casually. They are very, very strict changes. And we want to be very careful that if we start to scratch the surface on a private use of funds, that is very specific that the public understands.
Yeah, it's just that so I feel like we're at a standstill here because the bond council will not sign off on it. And it's not just, and I get it because they don't want to be on the hook
Right, right.
for $12.8 million, let's say.
Right.
So they won't
Right.
sign off on it because they don't want to be liable for it.
My opinion with this grant is you actually don't need to go to bond, but that's entirely up to the council to make that decision.
We basically have 12.8 million to spend now
Right.
without any bonding necessary. And that is a pretty good position to be in.
Right, right. It down, but as I said earlier, a couple years down the road, provided there's more service to be repaired and private services to be repaired, then it could be a challenge. And we are continuing to work to make sure that we may provide more clarity. It's not just for Troy, it's for everybody.
Council President.
Councilmember Casey.
Just to be clear, so if we're not going to bond, or I think what you said was the contractor will do the services and then they'll get reimbursed?
They'll get reimbursed by the city. You have to go out to bid on this next project.
And then we'll get reimbursed.
They will submit a bill. So Bill's company will do the work. Well, probably not Bill's. Some company will do the work. That would be a conflict. That would be a real problem. But the contractor will do the work. They'll submit the bills to the finance office or the end. And I know when we did it in Cohoes, because I've been through this drill before. The engineer reviews it, signs off, sends it off to EFC. They review it, they send you the money, and then you pay your vendor. And as you know, with bids,
The only thing I worry about is if there's any delay in the reimbursement, because I have heard there's been some delays in reimbursement. And I'm just saying that the city would, of course, would be on the hook for that. And the vendor, if they weren't paid promptly, might have an issue with that.
Correct. Yeah, well, just to be, you're right. EFC will be on the hook for that. But when you construct your bid documents, you can set the terms of reimbursement for the contractors too. Whether it's 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, we used to set contracts knowing what the timeline would be. The good news for you is that at the mayor's urging, we have scheduled a meeting in person with EFC to go through this step by step. And that will be on August, no, it won't. It'll be September 23rd in Albany. So we will be meeting with them to go through all the mechanics to give the surety, because I agree with you. You don't want to be in a position where we're doing $1 million a month and the money's not showing up, because some vendors actually understand it and they work with you. Others don't. It depends on where it is. But Maureen has given us assurances that provided the paperwork is submitted completely, everything checks out, it's not a very complicated thing. You'll get your money. It's up to you. I mean, listen, if you want to borrow money, you can borrow money, but I
know that,
always think,
but-
why borrow money when you don't need to?
I did hear earlier today that there was some instances where they were still waiting on reimbursement, and it had been quite a while, more than a year for some things. And I'm not saying that'd be the case now. It's just, I wonder, how it's going to work with our vendors if there's, but of course you are involved.
Trust me, the mayor knows how to get a hold of us.
Yes.
We talk regularly on a sundry amount of issues.
Council President.
Councilman Vera.
The 12.8 million in funding, a portion of that is a 0% interest loan. This might be a question for EFC, but is the city able to draw against that loan, to kind of kick things off? So in the event that we don't get the reimbursements in a timely fashion, we would be able to use some of those loan dollars to, maybe partially pay contractors or.
Yeah, I actually would think you'd want to, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, you'd probably want to tackle the grant money first versus getting into loan money.
Understood.
Right? The goal is whether it's 0% or if you go on the market now, it's probably 3 to 5%, depending on what the interest rates land. That's money that's going to cost you. So I'd rather see you personally use the grant money first.
Yeah.
But this is why we're meeting with EFC next week or in 2 weeks to get greater clarity. Because we really appreciate, you guys have all been working very hard on this to really get to a resolve to address this issue. And we hear from the residents in Troy as well. And we want to make sure that, any concerns that you have or any misunderstandings, we try to clarify.
I do want to say, though,
Councilman Casey?
oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Steele. It is just like Councilperson Soriano said, I mean, we're being told that if it's so clear cut, these bond councils, say it's not, and they won't approve bonding, which I think in the end, we did talk about bonding so that we could just get it done. We'd have the money and we'd start the ball rolling, getting as many done as possible. But these bond councils, it may seem crystal clear to some people, they're saying it is not.
Council President.
Councilmember McLaren?
So maybe just to clarify, you're confident that bonding will not be necessary because the money is available now. And then in the future, when that money is exhausted and we have to start spending municipal funds, that's when it might be a constitutionality issue.
It may be an issue.
Maybe.
Correct. Right.
But we have a little bit of time
Yeah.
to rectify that before we get to that point.
Right.
And are you confident that in this meeting that you're going to have with EFC, that it will help Troy be able to send out their RFP with those stipulations that they may have to wait, 30, 60, 90 days or whatever, that you'll get that information from them to be able to.
We are going to go through every little question that the administration has.
Okay.
And we'll
Thank
try to even think of a few that they haven't thought of.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, I think you have clarified a lot for us tonight, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedules to do that. Did you have anything more you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. for coming.
Appreciate it.
It's pretty typical that contractors. Not unusual at all.
Continuing with our public forum, does anyone wish to speak on any item on the agenda? This is agenda items only.
Good evening, Peggy Konak of Troy, North End. Happy to be here with you again. I didn't want Irene missing me anymore.
That's right.
I do have a couple of notations. I reviewed the minutes from the finance meeting of August 22nd and noted that resolution 129 does not appear on tonight's agenda for the council meeting. Just something I recognized in downloading them from online. So resolution 129 does not appear on tonight's agenda, which is a curious thing since I think it has to come before the council.
Do you want me to clarify that for you, Peggy?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a special meeting after the finance meeting last week.
And was that published?
And that was adopted. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was adopted at that time.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful news. So I guess we're just going to have to publicize how much we're willing to pay anybody who'd like to serve as our comptroller, which is also a resolution on tonight's agenda. Sorry, need my eyeballs. Just can't find where it was. Oh, yes, 130. So yeah, I think the public should know what we're willing to pay anyone who's competent enough to sit in the comptroller's seat. It's kind of important we have somebody that counts the beans in-house, given that we're paying an outside entity to do our financial reports. And if I remember correctly, we still haven't had quarterlies provided. So that was my number one. I'm against us bonding because as Mr. McDonald had stated, and Jake as well, Mr. Ashby, it's not necessary for you to bond. And as far as the way reimbursements work, I know a little bit about that too. I have received grant money and had to submit proper paperwork for reimbursement many, many times. So I know what the process is. If you've got that 12 point whatever million available now in a reimbursement fund, as long as the paperwork submitted to EFS is properly completed, there won't be an issue in getting a refund. As far as bidding and telling vendors, contractors, how much time it's going to take to pay them, I see it in RFPs all the time that we get. Their payments tell us anywhere from we'll pay in 30 days to 180 days. That's standard procedure. I know something about that too, because I'm the proud mother of a local 7 pipe fitter who actually responds to contracts, RFPs. So not at all necessary to issue the bond. And I find it a little concerning that certain people don't understand how the reimbursement process works. And I'm very grateful to both Jake and John for stopping in tonight to that clarification. So as far as the bond, I would be a firm no. And the only other one I'm concerned about is how much we're going to pay a comptroller. And good Lord, can we get one soon, please? Thank you. And I didn't touch the mic because I didn't want to drop it again.
Thank you, Peggy. Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Hi, so I'm here also here about the city comptroller thing. Question about why we are having a resolution to authorize the salary range when New York state law requires the salary range be posted on any advertising for a position as of September 17th of 2023 for any employer within New York State that has more than 4 employees. So I don't understand why it's even required because it's state law. I noticed that there are some budget line items that are requesting transferring of funds from one line grant to another. Do we have fiscal reporting data to understand the how we are transferring money from one to another, of why we know that this is fiscally responsible? Have we received Q1 or Q2 fiscal reports? Do we have a budget? I don't think these should be voted on until we have clarification of where our finances are currently before we make budget line item changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to our agenda. Ordinances, ordinance 42.
Ordinance 42, ordinance amending the 2024 miscellaneous special revenue fund budget. Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan,
Second.
second Councilmember Soriento. Discussion on the ordinance.
Council President,
Councilmember Vera,
is anyone from the administration available to confirm that the funds are available in these accounts?
Councilmember Vera will repeat the question for you, Gabrielle.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no trouble. So this question applies to ordinance 42, which we're currently entertaining, as well as 43, 44, and 45. Yes. There's a series of transfers. The information that we're provided with shows the original budgeted amount for various accounts.
Yes.
Can you confirm that those accounts have the monies in them for these transfers?
From where they're coming from. you're saying?
Exactly, right. So for instance, the first item, resolution 42, we are transferring up approximately $150,000 from an account
Mhm.
that was budgeted at just over $300,000.
So
There's
for
still
this-
150,000
Sorry.
remaining in that account, correct?
For this particular ordinance, it is just amending an approval that, let me see, May 2nd, 2024, ordinance 18. There was an approval to appropriate the funds into an account. These funds are 2023 funds, they're grant funds, and it was put into an account that began with 2022. So I'm just amending the account number so that we can draw it from, to keep it clean from the 2022 funds. I wanted to put it in a 2023 account.
Okay.
For this particular one.
Okay, and then for the others, just because I don't want to keep you up here for 10 minutes here. The other budget transfers, it's your opinion that the monies are available in those accounts?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Gabrielle? Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 42 passes.
Ordinance 43.
Ordinance 43, ordinance transferring funds within the special grants fund budget. Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 43 passes.
Ordinance 44.
Ordinance 44, ordinance transferring funds within the 2024 general fund budgets. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento,
Second.
second by Councilmember McLaren. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 44 passes.
Ordinance 45.
Ordinance 45, ordinance amending the 2024 general fund and garbage fund budgets. Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Councilmember Brosnan, seconded by Councilmember Keel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 45 passes.
Ordinance 46.
Ordinance 46, ordinance authorizing the reconveyance of real property acquired by in rem foreclosure, 128 Bedford Street. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Keel, second.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember McLaren, discussion? We just met on this, and I would just make it clear to folks that all of these resolutions have been in committee and thoroughly vetted, discussed. So that's why it may seem like we're not having a lot of discussion. A lot of discussion already took place on these. All in favor of 46?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 46 passes.
Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 125.
Resolution 125, resolution of Troy City Council declaring intention to act as lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act in connection with the proposed project to develop a clean thermal energy network within the city of Troy, including certain improvements within Riverfront Park, and authorizing the scheduling and conduct of a public hearing pursuant to section 1411D3 of the non-for-profit corporation law to consider leasing city property to the Troy Local Development Corporation for the proposed project. Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan, second.
Second.
Councilmember Soriento. Discussion on the resolution? All in favor? Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 125 passes.
Resolution 126.
Resolution 126, a resolution to commemorate the service of Michael Coca Jr. by designating that portion of Grand Street between 4th Street and 5th Avenue as Michael Coca Jr. Way. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan with a second by Councilmember Keel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 126 passes.
Resolution 127.
Resolution 127, resolution of the Troy City Council requesting that the New York State Comptroller and the New York State Attorney General issue advisory opinions on whether a city law And whether a city may lawfully issue general obligation bonds to fund replacement of all public and privately owned lead water service lines in the municipality. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan, second.
Second.
Councilmember Keel. Discussion on the resolution.
Council President,
Councilmember Brosnan.
I know we just had a representative say this is probably an unnecessary step. I think it'll help other municipalities in the future, even if we choose not to bond for this particular issue, other municipalities want to. So I think urging them to continue with coming out with a public opinion wouldn't be the worst idea.
Thank you. Councilmember Casey.
Council President Steele, I believe Mayor Carmel Mantella wants to address the council.
Hello, all. First, I really want to thank Assemblymember McDonald, Senator Ashby. We did have a super productive meeting the other day. In 2 weeks, we'll meet with EFC. Hopefully EFC, can give us that confidence, that assurance that we are going to get reimbursed expeditiously. I must tell you, I've worked, as you know, in state and local government. I have not seen reimbursement come within 30, 60, 90 days. Councilmember Casey, you are correct. We are still awaiting some CSO reimbursement from EFC dating back to 2021, 2022 also. So my job here, obviously, Assemblymember McDonald, Senator Ashby, they're going to support us. They're going to fight for us, and that's great. But we're at the grassroots level. We obviously have to ensure that we are going to go gangbusters next year, hiring multiple contractors. So a couple quick things I actually wanted to clarify. The 12.8 mil, we literally just received the paperwork requesting the data, the engineering background, et cetera, for that 12.8 mil. One of the requirements to receive the 12.8 mil, which is reimbursable, we do not have the money. So let's get that out of our head. We do not have 12.8 mil in the bank, and it is on a reimbursement basis. Secondly, one of the requirements is, and it doesn't mean that we have to issue bonds, but you do have to pass a resolution to receive the 12.8 mil reimbursable monies. You do have to pass a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds, because EFC recognizes we do not have $1, $2, $3 million in the bank should that reimbursement not come within that 30, 60, 90-day window. So that is a requirement to receive the reimbursable monies. So we do need the resolution that you have in front of us tonight. It's from DOH. We have the email. You need a resolution authorizing, not issuing. Remember, we authorize bonding. We do not always go to the market. We have authorized bonding in the past. We have not always gone to market for those monies. But one of the requirements for this reimbursement and any EFC grant, look back at any EFC monies and the reimbursable monies, you do need a resolution from the city council authorizing the city to issue bonds. It doesn't mean that you have to issue those bonds. So that is a requirement. A couple other things I wanted to clarify. Department of Health, EFC, we have contacted them. Our corporation council has contacted DOH, EFC, et cetera. Our consultant, CDM, Camp Dresser, who actually worked with us to receive these funds, and we are super appreciative. Nobody is saying that we're not appreciative. However, they have all verbally said, well, you can, even if you did bond, you could use the monies for private purposes. Nobody will put that in writing. The reason we may have to bond is because it's our job as a city to assure the monies when we obviously are replacing lead pipelines. So say you have a contractor, even if you put 60 days, we are going to go gangbusters next year through our RFP. We're going to hire multiple contractors. Right now, we have one contractor. You're aware of that. It's Fane. Fane is out there right now. They are replacing lead pipes. Next year, we would like to hire 2-3 contractors, multiple crews, different areas of the city. Right now, Fane, we're paying them approximately about 300 grand a month. Picture multiple contractors. We could be up to 1.2, $1.5 million a month. Say EFC doesn't reimburse us. Say the paperwork is missing one line. Talk to Andrew from DPU, the requirements for the reimbursement. I know it sounds all pretty, a great picture. I've been in the state and local government for 30 years. The reimbursement does not happen, boom, bam, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Do I wish that happens? Absolutely. Are we going to sit with EFC? Absolutely. If we don't have to bond, we don't want to bond, but guess what? We have to replace lead pipes. If we're going to spend $1.2, $1.5 million a month, we have to have monies. So we don't have $1.5, $2 million laying around. So as you're aware, we have bonded for other reimbursement projects, whether it be the wall that's behind us right here, whether it be various other major projects, we have had to bond for the reimbursement and we have been reimbursed. But that process is not quick. It's not fast. If this is different, I hope it is. And so we have that meeting in 2 weeks. We'll come back to the council, obviously. What we are asking you this evening, you have 4 pieces of legislation. Real quick, the one in front of you, this is asking the comptroller, the attorney general, an advisory opinion, something in writing. And I do hear the attorney general really doesn't want to enter this area about the constitutionality of using state funds for private purposes. So saying that, the comptroller most likely, hopefully, will give us a written opinion, but you should be aware. Everybody's telling us, when I say everybody, the state, there's no problem using these funds. Nobody will put it in writing. Secondly, there was a comment that I did also want to clarify. When you issue bonds and these monies, they do become municipal. So, whether state, federal, first of all, the Constitution clearly states you cannot use state funds for private purposes. So saying that the issuance of the bonds would become municipal, and we heard very clearly from the senator and the assembly member that municipal funds cannot be used for private purposes. So saying that, we're looking for clarity from the state. Like I said, I really thank Senator Ashby, Assembly Member McDonald for working with us, for fighting with us. I know that they're getting assurances verbally, but we have to make sure at the local grassroots level that we are going to be able to replace lead pipes next year and that we are going to have multiple contractors. So the first reso, we're asking for the advisory opinion in writing. The second reso is to expand the scope. As you're aware, we're extending the contract this year for Fane. We have approximately $500,000-$600,000. It'll get us through the end of the year until, frost comes or winter comes. We're going to literally continue replacing lead pipes until the frost or the winter comes. Let's see, the next one, the bond resolution, once again, it's authorizing. That is a requirement by DOH. We can send you through Camp Dresser. They've been working with us to get all the data, et cetera, that's required to get the 12.8 mil, which is reimbursement monies. As I said, one of the requirements is a city council authorization, not the issuance. They're not requiring that, but they are requiring a bond resolution to authorize. The next, the agreement with EFC, obviously that's self-explanatory. And then the resolution for the home rule. Remember, this resolution for the home rule, this is essentially another effort. We're going above and beyond. We're going all in on this, and we are together. And I do think the council, this is not a Democrat, Republican issue. This is an issue about replacing lead pipes, literally doing everything humanly possible to give us the ammunition to use that 12.8 appropriately to go gangbusters next year and replace lead pipes all throughout the city. And what this would do, I know that the assemblyman and the senator said, we can't even do this off session. I get that. I worked in the Senate for 20 some odd years. This would be the next legislative session, which starts in January. So it's not inconceivable that a home rule request for this purpose. And what we're doing, folks, remember, they're at the state level, and I get it. I've worked for senators, as I said, assembly for 20 some odd years. The legislature, their job is to fight for us, and they are doing that. But our job is to fight for the people of Troy. These pieces of legislation immunize us, gives us the ammunition to hire multiple contractors next year. If we don't have to go to bond and EFC gives us that real assurance, we won't. We are not going to just go to bond to go to bond. If we can squeeze out maybe $1.5 million, $2 million of ARPA money, which we will have an update on ARPA money for the next finance meeting. So saying that, if we can squeeze out just $1.5 million, $2 million to front that money, I do not feel comfortable unless EFC really guarantees us in writing that we are going to get that reimbursement within a 60, 90-day period. I don't feel comfortable hiring multiple contractors for $1.5 million. No one would. So saying that, this is just us working together to ensure that we can go gangbusters next year. And as I stated, if we don't have to bond, we're not going to bond. But the authorization is required. I will send you that email.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Mayor, I just want to clarify. So all of this, the bond resolution and so forth is for next year, not this year.
Correct. Yeah. Just so you know, we wouldn't even go to market until January or June, but this, if we did have to go to market, would happen in January because obviously we want to be prepared in the spring, in April, to go gangbusters with the lead pipe replacement.
And your meeting is in 2 weeks.
Yes,
Correct.
with
Correct.
EFC. So
we'll have
some time.
clarity
Yeah.
at that point in time.
Yeah. But I would ask, the council to pass the legislation this evening. I think it sends a huge message to the people of Troy. I think it sends a message. You should know other municipalities are contacting us because we really are one of the few leading the forefront. So if you're aware, like Cohoes just sent out their survey. We're in the forefront. We're working together. It's a great sign. And I thank the council for your bipartisan support.
Council
Thank you.
Councilmember Vera.
Mayor, you said that we need to pass the bond resolution,
The authorization.
the
correct.
authorization, for the off chance that the reimbursements do not come in time. Right?
Two fronts. One, it's required. DOH is requiring a city council pass resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds. Number two, yes, I'm asking for it in case we cannot find, let's say the EFC and Ted, sorry. There we go. Say the EFC meeting does go downhill and.
Your microphone's off.
On top. Thanks, Aaron, or Councilmember Vera. So number one, the requirement for EFC and DOH. Number two, if EFC cannot guarantee us, and obviously the other pieces of legislation would address the constitutionality
Right.
issue.
So forgetting about the DOH requirement, if you're still of the opinion that we are not able to bond, or it's not clear whether or not we're allowed to bond for private services, then how would authorizing the bond, how would those monies be used to pay a contractor, which would have inevitably done work on a private service?
Well, that's why this is a package. You're very much aware we're simultaneously working on several fronts. You know, we
So then after
need
this-
the,
after
we
this
need the
package is-
advisory.
If this
obviously.
package were to be adopted tonight, you're still not
Right.
convinced that you'd be able to move forward then with lead service?
For
line
the
replacements?
bonds, correct.
No,
correct.
with lead service line replacement then, with accessing this money from E
Well,
EFC.
we'll see what EFC says in 2 weeks, Councilman. I mean, obviously, you know, we're going. Either way, the city of Troy is going to go gangbusters next year. What I'm saying is on reimbursement monies, it is not a simple, you know, bam, bam, you know, contractors out there and the monies just flow. You've been here. It's
I've been
tough
on the other
getting
side. I've
reimbursement.
waited, you know,
Yeah.
in my private practice, I've waited months to get
Right.
paid for, you know, grant funding. Yeah.
Right.
It's happened.
So, you know, if EFC obviously can address that, we're golden. But it's really going to have to be strong assurance in writing. We'll obviously have, you know, our corporation counsel attend the meeting with us. Rick, Dana, they've both been knee deep in this. So, you know, we will come back to the council, obviously, after that meeting. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And just for clarity, our bond counsel has also requested this resolution to assist him. So if we tried to bond without a bond counsel letter in support, no one would buy the bonds. So in order for us to get the bonds issued, we need bond counsel. And he as well has asked us for this resolution to support moving forward with his opinion.
With the opinion. So, yeah. And as you know, we've been pushing bond counsel relentlessly because, you know, we obviously want to get next year's project just rolling. But since the assemblyman and the senator have come, you know, they at least have given a little more hope with the EFC reimbursement, but it certainly doesn't, I feel, give us that assurance yet.
Councilmember Brosnan.
All right, so if I'm understanding this correctly, the order of operations for repaying the contractors for doing the work would be filing the paperwork, trying to get it reimbursed through the state. Then it would be the 0% interest loan from the same bill.
Right.
Then it would be ARPA funds if available, and then the issuance of this bond? Is that-
No, not
No.
really, no. See, the whole ARPA and the bond, it's to front the money. So think about it. If we have $1.5 million, $2 million in EFC, we can really get rolling with that reimbursement. So it's more to put the money there in case EFC doesn't reimburse us quickly. Think about it. And I encourage all council members to go on site with us. I learned a lot. I had not seen a lead pipe replacement. This is not simple to mobilize that contractor. It's a lot. So first the mobilization, then actually to do very simple lead pipe replacement, you're looking at maybe a simple one, about 3 to 6 hour span. If you hit a complex one, like lower Campbell Ave, they hit like a 2-day one with one. So, you never know, public, private side, et cetera, obviously, until you get in it, how complex. But in answer to your question, if we are able to squeeze out some ARPA money, which we have already appropriated $1 million in ARPA, $1 million or like 1.2 from the water fund. So 2.2 got us going. That's with one contractor. But saying that, for the multiple contractors, the whole issue, Councilman, is to get some money so we're not stopping that mobilization or stopping the lead pipe replacement. We want it to just be continuous. And don't worry, like I'm not going to turn around and pay a contractor, 15, 30 days. We're going to meet the contractor, but when you're talking about millions of dollars, you're not going to have a contractor wait 6, 7 months. They're going to stop and wait for payment. So this is us literally doing everything humanly possible to really, as I keep saying, do it right, go gangbusters next year, multiple contracts, and use the 12.8. But the 12.8, if it was a simple, here you go, 12.8, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. Minus maybe the constitutionality issue on the private side. But saying that, we are in this kind of chicken and egg, and we're pulling out all stops. We're trying to be creative. And as I said, other municipalities are keeping an eye on us.
All right. So my question, I guess I didn't ask it well
Sorry.
enough, was would it be, that would be the last, we've exhausted every opportunity before we even issue the bond, as in we're gonna.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
And then,
Well, I mean, we only issue bonds in January and June. So if we need bonds, we'll be issuing them in January if we can. So,
or if we have to.
if we
I
have
mean,
to.
The hope is, honestly, EFC turns around and provides a miracle that I haven't seen in my 30 years in the state. I must tell you, I have worked on grants, both local side and state side. It's not a quick turnaround, but I really am hopeful, hopefully, that this meeting is miraculous.
all right, so for the repayment of, or the payment of the contractors, is it per line completed or is it
Monthly.
monthly?
Or it'll be what we put in the RFP. So,
Would we be able
like
to
right
do-
now, they're billing monthly.
Would we be able to bill like 6-month periods? That way we could,
I think when
potentially-
you're talking about millions of dollars, right now, you're talking a couple 100,000 to potentially ask a contractor to wait 6 months for maybe $1 million a month worth of work. I don't know if we're going to get a contractor to do
all right,
that.
I just know for the government work that I do in the union, it's milestone. So you're gonna get paid per milestone you hit. And then after that, there is a waiting period, even when you do
Mhm.
complete that milestone, and there's no shortage of contractors. in that
That'll be in the
area.
RFP. That
Okay.
there will be milestones in the RFP.
All right, thank you.
The more we ask our contractors to finance or put front money, the more it's gonna be built into our cost. So we need to be mindful of that as well. Nobody's gonna front money and finance projects for free, whether it's through the bond or through our contractors.
Understand. Thank you.
Councilmember Claren.
So in my head, when Senator Ashby and Assemblyman McDonald were speaking, I'm picturing like next week, we're going to start putting out those RFPs because, now we've got all this assurance, it did sound like Assemblyman McDonald was reading a statement from, did he say her name was Michelle?
Maureen
Maureen
Coleman.
She was the attorney for EFC?
No, she's actually the president and.
She's an attorney as well.
Oh, she was an attorney, but she was, okay.
I didn't know.
It
she's
sounded
an
like he
attorney.
was
Yeah.
reading a statement from her
Yes.
about how the reimbursement would work. And now he also mentioned,
Right.
so this is federal money
Through the
that's
state
being
funnel.
distributed through the state.
Yep.
Does that have any bearing on how quickly they reimburse when it's federal money that they're using?
Honestly, you would have to ask them, but
okay.
I can say being familiar in my prior life with federal monies through the state, it's literally once the state gets it, I can tell you the ARPA was beautiful for,
Yeah.
2 tranches, 20 something mil and 20 something mil to the city. And then it's us to appropriate. These monies coming through the state will have all of the state issues that I've dealt with other grants. Listen, if the president Coleman from EFC can literally carve out a path that we are on a rotating reimbursement basis, we're not going to issue bonds. That meeting obviously will determine our path, but to get that assurance, it's going to have to be foolproof because I cannot, hire, I can't, as the chief elected here in the city of Troy, put an RFP out within the next month, 2 months, next spring, hire, well, obviously we'll hire them before that, but have contractors, multiple crews out there mobilizing, et cetera, and not be able to pay them. We have to obviously get this program going and ensure that our lead pipes are being replaced. Ultimately, that's our job. Let's do it, the most we can with the maximizing of the efficiency of the contractors and essentially continue doing what we're doing, working in clusters to obviously maximize that productivity. So, we're all in on this. I know all of you are. We all just want to ensure that we're replacing lead pipes. My goal, to get all lead pipes replaced within my first term. I've said it a million times. Is that doable? Is it overly ambitious? Yeah, I know it is, but I believe we can do it. And the best right now, even though Maureen, the president, is verbally saying this, that, we're going to need real assurances.
Thank you.
Councilmember Casey.
Council President, thank you. They've said what they said, and I'm sure they're going to meet. Hopefully it's productive. I think also phone calls from these 2 representatives to EFC, of course, might push things along, but that does not change my opinion on any of this legislation. We got to this legislation because people packed this room and I think unfairly accused us of poisoning children. We all saw the emails saying that you should have done this, Mayor Mantello, your mismanagement is the reason why our children are poisoned. I've had multiple emails saying my children's lead levels are high and you're at fault here. They packed the meeting, they screamed at us. I don't see any of them here tonight. But we all came together to put this legislation on the agenda. Republicans and Democrats, in fact, these people were praised for coming to the meetings. And they clapped for us when he put this stuff on the agenda. There's no reason why we can't just pass this stuff on the agenda that we passed. They clapped for it. They were happy. They were so satisfied they didn't come tonight. The email stopped. I don't think they would be happy if we didn't vote on these things, and there's no reason. If the home rule thing, it never comes to be, it never comes to be. If we authorize the bonding, which we have to do, but if we authorize bonding, never went to bond, that's great too. There's no reason why we shouldn't stay the course of the legislation that we proposed on a bipartisan basis. We all came together. So I would like to see all this legislation continue on and hope that everything goes well on the other end. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you again.
We are on resolution 127. And I think that was read, correct?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 127 passes.
Resolution 128.
Resolution 128, resolution authorizing expanding the scope of the lead service line replacement project and the additional expenditure therefore. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento with a second by Councilmember Brosnan. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 128 passes.
Resolution 130.
Resolution 130, resolution of the Troy City Council authorizing an advertised salary range for the position of city comptroller. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan, second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Soriento. Discussion?
Council President Steele.
Councilmember Casey.
This resolution hopefully will get us the person we need for this job. Again, this was another thing where we're totally in agreement that, we're not going to get it unless we raise the salary. We're not going to get anybody. And it was a very bipartisan, and we all agreed on it that I know of. I know Council President Steele did. And I look forward to finally being competitive and getting a comptroller, something we desperately need. Thank you.
Yeah, Council President.
Councilmember Vera.
Have we received any resumes to date?
They're nodding their head yes, so apparently.
How many resumes have we received?
We received 8 or 10.
8 or 10? Have there been any discussions with these candidates?
I think we
I guess
reached-
where I'm going with this is, do we have somebody in mind for this position?
No.
Once we do
No.
this? Okay, no, all right.
And if I could just add, we put a little money, thanks Dana, sorry. We did put a little money into Indeed and we ended up getting, I would say a good 6, 7, actually more than 6 or 7, but we narrowed it down. We called these folks. What I did find with Indeed, folks send their resume to multiple places and unfortunately don't follow up a whole lot, but nobody's in mind. Obviously, we are going to be extremely selective as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 130 passes.
Resolution 131.
Resolution 131, resolution determining that proposed lead service line replacement program is a type 2 action for purpose of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Councilmember Soriento, second by Councilmember Keel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 131 passes.
132.
Resolution 132, bond resolution of the city of Troy, New York, authorizing issuance of $12.823 million serial bonds to finance the replacement of lead service lines. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do you have a motion?
We gotta get through this.
Councilmember Keel, second.
Second.
Councilmember Soriento. Discussion?
Council President.
Councilmember Vera.
I've heard that the Department of Health requires this. Do we have that in writing, that in a document that can be provided to the city council?
Yes.
And even if that can be provided right now, this evening. I'm
It
still
was
go-
an email. There was an email that said, in order to proceed with your financing, we need the following 10
Correct,
things.
but
and
it
was
wasn't an
number
email
one.
sent to the council.
I
I don't need to get in I'm going to make a motion that we table pending your meeting with EFC on September 23rd. And that, coming out of that meeting on September 23rd, along with any documentation that you've received from Department of Health, we can table this until our October regular meeting. And there should be no time lost in that scenario.
With all due respect, there will be. You should know we have a time frame to deliver the bond authorization. That's why we're requesting it now. It's literally within the next 2 weeks. We have to get the documentation to EFC and DOH. I would not want to push that deadline. We'll get you the email. There is, you must know, this is not the only thing that is required from DOH, EFC. There's engineering data, et cetera. I'll get you the email. Someone's going to get it right now. And if we could pause, but we do need this resolution to get that 12.8 million rolling. So if you want to wait,
We'll move
you
on
know.
Holding
to
up
other
everything
items,
then.
other
Yeah.
agenda
It's gonna hold
items.
up everything.
So
We'll move on to resolution 133. Resolution.
Resolution 133, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a funding agreement with the Environmental Facilities Corporation for loan and grant funding of the city of Troy's lead service line replacement program. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento, second. Councilmember McLaren. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 133 passes.
134.
Resolution 134, resolution in support of a home rule message requesting that the Senate and Assembly of the State of New York enact bills permitting the city of Troy to issue general obligation bonds for replacement of all lead water service lines due to a public health emergency. Council President Seal, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
That was definitely a tie. I'll give it to Mr. Councilmember Keel with a second by Councilmember Brosnan. Discussion on the resolution. I think I echo what's been said. This is an evening of bipartisan action. I said to someone, it's like we're throwing spaghetti on the wall and we're seeing what sticks and hoping that something sticks. We don't know what is going to actually end up helping us, but the point is we want these lead pipes replaced. We want our children safe, and we want to do it as quickly as possible. So whether or not we're doing this correctly, hopefully the message is heard that we're serious about this. And I am hopeful that we will come together, and I'm very optimistic about this meeting. And so I'm very grateful that we're all working on this together. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes,
135.
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 134 passes. Resolution 135, resolution confirming an appointment to the Troy Industrial Development Authority. Council President Seal, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Keel, second.
Second.
Councilmember Soriento. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 135 passes.
136.
Resolution 136, resolution honoring Bernice Born Ledbauer for her service and contributions to the arts in the city of Troy. Councilmember Vera.
Motion.
Councilmember McLaren, second.
I feel like I said it wrong.
Second.
Councilmember Brosnan. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 136 passes.
And resolution 137?
Resolution 137, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of cybersecurity endpoint protection and response services. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Brosnan with a second by Councilmember Keel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nos. Resolution 137 passes.
Back to 132.
Resolution 132, bond resolution of the city of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of 12.823 million serial bonds to finance the replacement of lead service lines. Council President Steele, Councilmember Casey at the request of the administration.
We have a motion from Councilmember Keel, seconded by Councilmember Soriento. Do we have?
I am going to email it to you right now. It is from CDM who worked with us on the application. He's been helping us with DOH and EFC through the Department of Public Utilities. You will also, just so you're aware, EFC has actually also asked for a meeting and literally would not wait 2-3 weeks. We're actually doing a meeting next week with EFC on this. They were already asking for the certified copies for the bond reso and for the seeker. I informed them it did pass in finance, which you're going to read in this email that I am going to press send right now. So it's coming to all of you. I just sent
Thank
it.
you.
So
Dana,
you'll
my-
see Greg Bold, and that's CDM. You'll see the requirements.
My question is, this is the way this reads, we are authorizing the issuance.
Correct.
We're not, I mean, that sounds like we are literally authorizing the
have to.
issuance of 12 million.
Correct. And we had to do the full amount. So even if we do have to go to bond, as you've heard, we would need to, because it's reimbursable, we wouldn't, it's unlikely we would need to bond for the full 12.8, but EFC requested and required the full amount. We did push back on that and asked if we could do a resolution for a lower amount, and they required that the city commit to the full amount in its bonding resolution, regardless of what we might ultimately bond. And again, we also at the time discussed the same discussion we're having tonight, which is what are the possibility that we can get that bonding number as low as possible? How quickly can we get reimbursed? How often can we send in our claims? We could bond for the 12.8 and then seek reimbursement at the end of the program. Obviously, that's not ideal. Or we can do it on a rolling basis, which is what the representatives at the state level were talking about.
Councilmember Vera.
Thank you. Can we add a copy of this email to the meeting minutes? Okay,
Sure.
and then I just want to be clear, what I'm looking at is an email that you sent to Greg Bold, where he replied in line below in red. Okay, and
If you go
the
all
way I
way
think
down.
about this is essentially the requirement is similar to the CHIPS program.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
The paving program
Yeah.
where we have to bond
Yeah.
annually for the monies
Yeah.
that are being spent.
And
Okay.
Councilmember Vera, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because somebody had asked me about this, so I compared it to the CHIPS
Yeah,
program. So, Council President, to your question, yes, you are authorizing the issuance. We have done that for multiple, funding, streams, grants, you name it. It does not mean that we actually issue that full amount or any sometimes, so.
And also to be clear on these resolutions, whenever we present a resolution to the council, it's been approved by, in this case, bond council as well as ECF, EFC. EFC, yes. So both have pre-approved the language of the resolution before it reaches you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you sending that over.
No problem.
I don't have any other questions.
still motioning?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay, we're under discussion on 132, the bond resolution. Anyone have any comments, questions?
There was a motion to table it.
It was not seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Um, I'm glad that we're doing this in a bipartisan basis. I have to say, I am concerned. We have not received our quarter, any financial reports. I'm nervous about putting us in a position where we're bonding. I'm supporting this on the word of the mayor based on the email she's provided to us. I hope we don't have to bond, especially given the information we did tonight. I think we could have waited. I think a table would have been in order, but I'm not going to hold this up. Certainly not with this project so important to so many people.
Council President Steele, can I just say one thing?
Councilmember Casey.
There definitely wasn't that tone a few weeks ago. I hope we don't have to bond either. But we were fully on board 2 weeks ago, full steam ahead on this. And I don't think anybody was expressing that they were, not going to be for this at all. And now we're saying that, well, we're reluctantly doing it, but we all came together. Like I said, everybody was here for several months, and it's all they wanted us to do. And you helped spearhead the effort to bond. So, I think we're all on board, and we have been on board, and there was definitely no hesitation. And hopefully we don't even have to bond.
Well, we received some new information tonight that changed it considerably and shed a considerable different light on it.
Well, we shall
and-
see.
And I think we all need to be willing to admit that positions do change. I'm not changing. I am supporting this effort. But I still am hesitant, and I'm not going to back off on that.
Council President?
Councilmember Vera.
Yeah, I think the information presented this evening makes it clear that the bond resolution is a requirement in order to accept this funding.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm moving forward with it without hesitation.
Yeah. And maybe we don't even have to bond.
30 seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 no's. Resolution 132 passes.
Motion to adjourn.
At this time, the public forum is for anyone who wishes to address any item on the agenda, or not any item not on the agenda. So it's any topic of your choosing.
Am I tall enough tonight?
You can
Hello?
do it. You can do it, Evelyn.
I was afraid of breaking something. Hello, Evelyn Greenstein, Joseph Street, Sickaway. As you know, I come here usually talking about the library, and about this time of year, someone from the library comes to remind you that our election is speeding upon us. Just so everybody knows, we are going to have two public information meetings, one Tuesday, September 10th, 7 p.m. at the main library. The second one, Tuesday, September 17th, 7 p.m. at the Lansingburg branch. The election itself is going to be Tuesday, September 24th at both the main library and the Lansingburg branch from 12 to 8 o'clock. The League of Women Voters are facilitating that election. At the information hearings, you will hear a presentation of the upcoming budget and get to meet the 5 candidates for the 3 spots for the board. They are Rhea Drysdale, Carolyn Fagan, Ashley Shope, Keith Slupsky and Evelyn Katz Greenstein. So I hope people come out to hear us present the budget, get to meet the candidates, and then vote. However you're going to vote, please vote.
Could I have you repeat those 5 names just one more time?
Sure. Rhea Drysdale, Carolyn Fagan, Ashley Shoup, Keith Slupsky, and Evelyn Katz Greenstein. There are bios on the website. If you come to the Tri-Public Library's front page, there is a big piece about the election, and you can click on bios for the candidates as well as information for the budget, and more will be coming out shortly. We're working on the final piece of the presentation as we speak. Anybody else have any?
Thank you, Evelyn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does anyone else wish to address the council on any item?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Cusack. I was in your agenda this evening to.
Mike, I'm sorry, can you just put it up closer? Thank you.
My name is Michael Cusack. I was in your agenda this evening for appointment to the IDA board. Thank you for your unanimous vote. I look forward to working with all of you on providing appropriate pathways for business to be done in Troy. And man, what a shame this room was empty tonight, you know, because the taxpayers really hit it on the money when they voted for you guys, especially to perform to this level tonight for the lead pipe replacement. To see that commitment to due diligence, that execution and bipartisan discussion to conquer such an issue that's been a black cloud over the city for such a long time. It's really amazing to see that work ethic happening between the entire council this evening. It hasn't always been that way in situations like that. And it's just pretty impressive to watch that tonight. So thank you for your commitment to that. It was very promising to watch.
Thank you.
So,
Mike, Ryan and I are both on the IDA, so we look forward
Yes.
to meeting and working with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Does anyone else wish to address the council on any item?
Hello, Vincent Strinkowski, Delaware Avenue, South Troy. After 120 an hour and 20 minutes of intense lead pipe discussion, I'm going to sound very boring to you guys. First, I want to say thank you. On behalf of Delaware Avenue, I see a speed bump that was put near the Carroll Hill School and a speed limit sign or notification sign, very helpful. What I would like to see, though, is another speed bump because I think the street warrants it on the other side of Carroll Hill, kind of closer to where I am. I'm at 103, which is close to the corner near Project Road, Project Street, the street names that I hate. I think
Working
that,
on that. We're working on it. We're working on it.
I know. I'm just being facetious. But in all due honesty, I think another speed bump is warranted. I literally can be sitting in my living room watching TV and people will come through that Project Delaware intersection, sometimes not stopping at the stop signs. That's a whole nother issue. And they'll just start peeling out right as Delaware starts. I mean, like I've said before, it's a beautiful, freshly paved, wide road. People want to tear up that road. And yes, now down the way, a little bit on the other side of Carroll Hill, there is that speed bump, which I think is helping. But I think we really need a second one on the other side, closer to, like I said, my neighbors here. He's 101, I'm 103. I think something like, near 105 or 107 in that vicinity of that side of the school will slow people going in both directions, both ways. So again, not a big issue compared to what you guys have been dealing with, but I think it's on the right track. I'm sure there are other areas of Troy, especially in the vicinity of schools and other kid-friendly, family-friendly areas that maybe need that kind of a approach too, with slowing people down. But I'm advocating for Delaware Avenue. And again, I thank you for what you've done so far, and I hope you can do a little bit more. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council?
Good evening. Michael Stott, 101 Delaware Ave, right next door to Vin. Just want to start by just saying I've grown up in the capital region and I've always had this perception that local government does not work for people. And I'm just encouraged by what I've been hearing tonight, the conversations we're having, really this commitment to really help people out who are actually directly affected by the lead pipe issues. So thank you. I do echo what Vin says about the neighborhood. We live on the corner. My wife's car was actually totaled in our driveway by reckless driver. So I agree with everything he says about the speed bump, really great. The speed sign is great as well. I would actually take it a little bit further and suggest maybe some man patrols, maybe getting a just police presence kind of anywhere in and around Carroll Hill, whether it's on the one side or the other, preferably towards the corner of Project Road, because people do speed out and peel out, and you get the West subwoofers at 2 a.m, that type of thing. Just having somebody present, I mean, you put up all the speed bumps you want, slow people down, but people are still going to do whatever they want. There's no accountability, and there's no one to hold them accountable. So some type of presence, whether it's part-time, maybe a full-time thing, whatever the city can do. I think that would really help that out as well and really reinforce the speed issue that's in that area. Also, too, I live in the corner, and so there are a couple bus lines in our neighborhood, and there are 0 trash cans. And I'm forced, whenever I go to do any type of landscaping or mow my lawn, I have to go through with some gloves and trash bag and fill up a couple trash bags sometimes. Floats in my backyard, floats in Vin's yard. All our neighbors are affected by it. I noticed you guys are doing a lot of beautification stuff. There's even a park that nobody goes to on Campbell, or I'm sorry, right by Spring Ave by the baseball fields that is just installed. They have a garbage can and nobody goes there. But we live on a bus line and there's garbage everywhere. I don't know if it's in the city budget somewhere where we can get some trash cans. So we're not forced to mow trash or pick up trash or anything like that. Just want to put that out there. Just something to think about. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento with a second by Councilmember Brosnan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.